Hey team, Angus Strachan here, and welcome to the Film Slice podcast, or what is left of the Film Slice podcast. We have had an interesting couple of weeks, haven't we? Just kind of worldwide. Of course, if you're listening to this as soon as it comes out, you know what I'm talking about. However, if you are an alien race documenting our species from afar, we are in fact in the midst of a massive pandemic running around the world, wreaking havoc on our health system, but wreaking havoc on quite a few industries as well, some of which are music, theatre, but also more importantly to us, to the Film Slice crew, is movies. Is cinemas. The cinemas are shut down, so we've all been told to self-isolate. So I'm here by myself at the moment. The boys self-isolating themselves back at their place. We'll get in touch with them soon. This isn't going to be a normal Film Slice episode. I'm just going to say that right out of the gate. This is not going to be a normal one. This is going to be, I guess, a reflection on what's happening with the movie industry in these kind of circumstances, and of course what is happening with the Film Slice podcast. It's been a while since we've actually been able to make a podcast episode because so many things are changing, and things are changing so rapidly that we're not entirely sure on what we're doing. Luckily, things are kind of calming down a bit, so we're just going to have a quick little chat with the boys to kind of figure out what we're going to do without cinema. There's no cinema anymore. And of course, it's going to be hard for us to do the podcast together now. So with all this self-isolation and stuff, I live about an hour away from the boys. They are kind of close to each other, so they might be able to see each other and, kind of assume this is work. But I will go ahead and we'll call the boys and see if we can do this remotely, because otherwise the Film Slice podcast is going to be a bit tricky to record from now on. Let's see if the boys are in. They should be.
How are we?
Good. Ready for the podcast. Is Cane Dogs in?
Nope.
No, he's not in yet. Classic Cane Dogs. I'm recording everything. I've just done like a bit of a spiel to the start, just to kind of explain what we're doing, so I don't have to explain it already. Although I probably could explain it to you guys because you also don't know what we're doing.
Fuck it, we'll wing it.
All right, so I am joined in the internet studio, I guess we call it, in Facebook Messenger, really, by Brodilly-Doo Broadman Richards and Cane Dogs. Boys, how are we in self-isolation? Surviving?
It's been a riveting life.
I've
done? So I've achieved, because there's all these things on Facebook that's like, whenever you're at home, you can achieve all these life projects. I've done none of those. I've spent my life watching other people complete their life projects.
I see.
I'm thinking,
right.
I should do a thing.
So you haven't done anything yet?
It's been great.
Well, that's good. Well, you've got to... It's going to last for a long time, so you can't peak right at the start, because otherwise you've got nowhere to go, Well,
I don't know. Potentially I'm back at work next week, so... The irony is, though, is that I'm spending all of my time watching all these projects and being like, you know what? When the world boots back up, I'm going to do some of these things. And then when that happens, I'm going to be like, I don't have enough time to do any of these things. I really need some time off.
I really need another pandemic to just start so I can go ahead and achieve my goals.
I'm going to start sneezing on people just so I can build a porch, yeah.
Broadman, what have you been up to?
I've been chilling
Chilling?
out, hanging, chill banging,
Yeah.
chilling out.
Self-isolating?
Yeah, sure, that's what I'm doing. I'm not just hanging out at home, playing games.
Not just doing what you've been doing for the last couple of years.
All uni work.
It's been a massive change for Brody's lifestyle.
It's weird not going into the city. I used to go into the city every day of the week. And it's weird. It's weird not doing that.
Now, boys, I am a bit I guess I'm a bit disappointed about the circumstances because we've recorded non-stop, week for week, for over 2 years, and it's taken this pandemic to actually stop us because I haven't uploaded in I think 2 weeks or so.
I think it's actually pretty good that it's taken a pandemic to stop us, and even that only stopped us for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
I think if anything, that's a testament to the fact that we truly have nothing better to do with our lives.
I would have put it some way better, but yeah, that pretty much sums it all up. Of course, our biggest problem is we've lost content, really, because Film Slice Podcast, we review a movie every week, and now there's no movies coming out.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm not sure if I could call it content.
A basis for content, like, you know, I don't think we could do a whole episode on slappity number time. Ouch.
I think we could.
That's pretty hard to do when none of us are in the same room.
Yeah, I feel like we'd just be slapping
fair.
each other's
That's
computers. And yeah, I don't think that would work.
I've figured out how we do it. So what we all need is we need a person in our life in the room with us, whether it be like your parents or a brother or whatever, and they have to be in the room with you. And if you lose,
A confidant.
you get slapped by the person you've invited into your room.
We gotta figure out what we're gonna do. So I think off podcast we've come up with a few potential ideas. So talking about maybe reviewing new Netflix releases. Or
my initial one is Zappity Number Time Ouch, where we get some machines which can electrocute us, and we can press buttons over the internet.
Like dog collars. So, we'll all invest in dog collars.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I've already got a bunch. Don't worry about that.
Oh, super.
Don't ask why.
Jordan used to have a lot of dogs.
The shock collars are very powerful, I'll give you that.
Oh, God.
My idea, which I thought would have been kind of cool, is if we each, at least for one podcast, bring a movie that we have to try to recommend to the other two. Mm-hmm. So we bring a movie that's like the movie you have to watch in quarantine, like the movie to watch.
Right.
And we have to argue why.
Yeah, okay. And then so we can come up with arguments as to why specifically in quarantine. Like, it might not be the best movie for a night out, but... Yeah, right. I like that. So well, that's one episode. We've just got another 6 months worth of episodes to come up with. I like that.
We can do one for one for solitary confinement. We can do one for just morbid depression.
I like it. Yeah.
And then we can do one for when your girlfriend eventually gets bored of being at home with you because of all the shit you talk, and then she leaves.
Definitely.
The best thing to come out of this isolation is that right now I'm opening my fridge on the podcast. And you know what? That is an amazing feat of human engineering.
I feel a bit over prepared because I'm just hearing you guys like on your phone. I'm assuming you guys are just walking around, laying on the couch and everything, but I've still got the studio set up.
Stark naked, yeah.
So
I'm completely naked.
I was considering doing the podcast without my pants, but I thought that was unprofessional. Obviously, I'm wrong.
I'm professional. I'm doing it without any clothes. I am wearing one of the Jordan's dog collars.
I'm also wearing one of my dog collars.
It is quite cold at the moment at my place, and we don't have any heating.
You're telling me.
All right. On that note, I'm gonna also, if you boys will allow me, open it up to the floor. And ask
let me put my phone on the floor.
Ask our
put my phone down.
Ask our slicey slicers out there if they have any ideas for us to do. Generally, we'd like to keep it towards, I guess, the film industry or the TV or visual mediums. Maybe we could do an art podcast. But
I think we branch out just to biomechanics. I think we just change the topic of the podcast. I really like the idea of opening the floor up to the slices, just because. Much like every other time, I'm willing to bet that they'll all listen and none of them will write back.
Excellent, yeah.
Every single one of you guys is listening right now go, I should write in, but I'm not gonna.
I am hoping that most of them are self-isolated and bored enough that maybe they might actually do it.
You think so? We're hoping firstly that they're bored enough to listen to this phone conversation. And then that they're going to be bored enough again on top of that, but yet inspired to be like, I want to look into this further.
Yeah, you know what? Broadman, what were you going to say?
Oh, I cannot remember.
Cool.
This is going to be the podcast for the next couple of months.
It is a weird dynamic because, like, we can't bounce off each other as easily as well because, first of all, I can't see you. You know, you guys don't have your video on, obviously, because
me and Brody are actually
naked. So
me and Brody are actually bouncing on each other as we speak.
Oh, good. Maybe we could start a relationship podcast. I don't know. I thought it would be a good little segment on this episode to just kind of quickly talk about some of the movies and some of the ways that the industry is kind of working to get their stuff out, working to get their content out. So obviously we had the announcement kind of very early on in the piece that Black Widow had changed their release date from May the 1st, and that's now changed to November. So we haven't got any kind of new Marvel movies coming out.
It's also pushed back every single Marvel movie to the next release.
Yeah, so the Eternals
was going to be a Marvel movie released in November. That's getting pushed back to next year.
Yep.
And so on, all the way down the line to like the end of 2022.
To whatever's kind of slated, yeah.
I love the concept that it's like, if this had happened and Endgame got pushed back, there'd be a riot. But because it's Black Widow, there's like 6 people that are disappointed.
It's just like,
Black Widow and Eternals are the 2 next ones, and everyone's like, what the fuck is even Eternals?
Yeah, no one's like counting down the days for this, so everyone's indifferent to it.
Not Eternals.
Yeah. My favorite thing about all of this is one of the last films to like squeak its way out was Bloodshot. A movie that, even though it was one of the last films everyone had an opportunity to see, everyone still went, nah.
Nah, I'd rather stay at home.
Bloodshot. I don't even remember that.
I'd rather never see a movie again than go see that one.
It's a very awful looking film with Vin Diesel in it, and he basically gets biomechanic upgrades.
He gets turned into nanobots or whatever.
It looks like a movie with the premise written in 2005.
Yeah,
it is a DC comic. If you Google Bloodshot, the character might look somewhat familiar to you, but they've done the classic like early 2000 superhero thing of not making the superhero look like they actually looked in the comics, so it's unrecognizable.
Yeah, right. I didn't even remember that movie existed, to be honest.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That's fair, Angus. That's fair.
What did we even say we were going to do before this whole thing happened? What was our next episode meant to be?
Bloodshot, and then Sonic.
Oh, it was meant to be Bloodshot?
I thought we were going to do Sonic, and then we were going to do A Quiet Place.
That's right. Yeah, well, I mean, A Quiet Place is one of those movies that have been pushed back as well.
Well, we could absolutely do A Quiet Place 1, because I'm yet to watch that, and that is on Netflix. So we could always review that in anticipation for next year when A Quiet Place 2 maybe comes out.
In anticipation for next year.
Just really thinking forward is, well, I guess that's, kind of all we can do. I've got a whole bunch of movies that have been pushed back as well. Another thing I'll mention is that Frozen 2 has actually been fast-tracked to streaming. So that's kind of...
Fast-tracked to streaming, yep.
A second way that the industry is kind of combating the situation is instead of waiting for the cinemas to reopen, they're just kind of thinking maybe we just release it on streaming. So it's not going to be like a normal Netflix or a Stan or anything like that where the movies just kind of come on and you can watch them whenever. You still have to buy tickets. Yeah. So you have to buy like a virtual ticket and you've got the movie for like 48 hours or something, kind of like what you do when you would rent a movie from iTunes before Netflix was a thing.
The problem they'll have with that is any idiot with, like, basically anyone excluding me that has any kind of modern technology
Why excluding
is capable
you?
of buying a ticket and then just recording that movie and then selling it for half price to anyone.
Yeah.
They'd immediately lose all money. Like, even if half the people that saw the movie bought a ticket, they're still going to lose a bunch of money because no one needs to go and see it twice. There's not going to be that word of mouth that happens.
It's not an event. Yeah.
you miss out on the 10% of people that are just going to the cinemas without really like anticipating a particular film. You don't really get that crowd of people that are just watching whatever.
And also, everyone's being real tight at the moment as well because no one's working.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
no one
true.
wants to
I think-
spend money.
Everyone's like, you know what? I will save money. It's taken the world shutting down for the large majority of people to be like, I'm gonna open up a NetBank saver.
I'm going to start saving now while I'm unemployed.
Well, I'm unemployed and there's nothing to buy.
We've also got an interesting thing that I kind of stumbled upon when I was researching for this episode is the live action Mulan, the Disney live action Mulan. That actually had a few pre-screenings come out, but now they've moved the release date. So there's,
That's awkward.
I guess like a small bunch of people that have actually seen the movie and I guess have, the whole point of doing pre-screenings is to kind of build the hype, right? So you get like reviewers in and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
And it's absolutely destroyed the momentum for this film. And I'm imagining there's probably other films out there that are, just got caught with their pants down.
Well, the other film that's gonna really lose out on this is the James Bond film.
Yep.
So they built up not only a bunch of momentum for the film, but also for the release of Billie Eilish's song.
Yeah.
And they released the song, and then the pandemic happened. So Billie Eilish lost out on a bunch of money because she would have been expecting to get a lot of proceeds in relation to the film.
I thought you were about to blame Billie Eilish for the pandemic.
Well, clearly Billie Eilish is the person to blame. I think if anyone is responsible for this pandemic, it's her music. No, I like her music. I don't know what I'm talking about. But that song is seriously going to suffer, but also the whole momentum for James Bond, which has been building up, not well, but trying to, will have been destroyed. Like, they're not going to be able to build that momentum twice. So
Definitely.
that
Yeah.
film, at this point, that film has to be good to make any money. And that's maybe a 50-50 for Bond films these days.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this one goes. But you know who's laughing all the way to the bank right now is Daniel Craig.
He's already done his bit.
Well, the thing is because Daniel Craig notoriously hates doing press conferences and things like that. He did not want to do James Bond because he did not want to do... Because James Bond is so massive, not just in America and Britain, but it's
Just
massive
globally,
internationally.
yeah.
And he notoriously almost flat out refused to do the press conferences of the last two films to the point where they had to pay him extra after the film. This time, they paid him like a crazy large amount because he was like, no. They're like, what about money? He was like, no. What about more money? And eventually he said yes to money. And then pandemic, he can't do any of the press conferences.
A man of morals.
A man of morals, but now he can't do any of the press conferences. So that's fantastic for him.
So really, you're blaming Daniel Craig for the pandemic.
I am. Him and Billie Eilish are in this together.
They're in
I mean,
cahoots.
she lost a lot of money, but absolutely.
All right, so there's heaps of other films. We won't go through all of them like in detail, but we've got Ghostbusters, Wonder Woman 1984, Top Gun, the reboot of Top Gun has been pushed back. Minions, I know Cane Dogs, you were looking forward to the new Minions movie.
Look, I'm riveted that it's still going to be released one day.
Fast and Furious 9. Even the pandemic has stopped the freight train of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Not so fast or furious anymore.
Yeah. Well, like,
got him.
at a standstill. Take that, Vin Diesel.
We're really just hammering Vin Diesel's movies at this point.
Yeah. Well, that's mainly what our podcast is, but at least on normal episodes, we've got a direction. Like we've got a framing of a film, but now we just kind of pick the worst people possible we can think of, and it's Vin Diesel, Daniel Craig, and Billie Eilish. They're all in cahoots. They're all in the cahoots together. They're all playing cahoots together.
They're all playing cahoots together.
Yeah, I think they're live streaming it. It's good fun. Watch out for that one. That's pretty much all I've got like written down here is just that the movie industry, I should say, is pretty cooked at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see, I guess, what happens.
They're all high.
Coming out of the pandemic is whether how much of a hit cinemas are actually going to take. Are people going to get used to just paying online or all that kind of stuff, which I guess only the future will tell. But I mean, this wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't speculate. So
I think the concept that's sort of frustrating is, on one hand, it's like, well, these multi-billion-dollar industries, they're going to lose out on like 6 months worth of income, and even then they're still going to make some back. And that's, most people are like, well, who cares? But the thing that's really frustrating is like those lower budget films, or the people that work for those massive companies and like they were given their shot, like people that were like, you know, new editors on a film or new writers, and they don't get their cut until that film makes a certain amount of money. Those people will lose out a hell of a lot more.
Definitely, yeah. We'll lose like quite a lot of the new incoming artists and everything. Which
exactly.
So there'll probably be, I guess, like you call it like a bit of a dark age after this pandemic is over, where no one wants to make a movie because I guess financially it's not as beneficial as what it once was, and you don't have those kind of budding people trying to get into the industry because it's kind of lost its spark.
There's a question there. Do you think when it all blows over, when movies are back up, do you think there's going to be a roar up of people going out to see films, or do you think the momentum of the film industry will be slowed enough that it'll remain a lot slower than it was?
It depends on how we move out of it. I guess it's getting a bit more political, but there's been talk of like, you know, getting out of it the same way we got into it. So they're kind of gradually increasing
via Facebook.
Via Facebook.
Random messages we found on Facebook.
Gradually
hearsay on ABC News.
Yeah, that's it. No, there's talk of like kind of gradually opening up your doors and everything, and like being allowed to go out to certain events, and like bringing the cap of people indoors back up slightly. So if they do it gradually, then there's obviously going to be a gradual inclination to go back to the movies. But I think if they do it straight away, everyone is so sick of staying inside. Like they're going to take any excuse they can to go out. And I think that's what the cinemas is counting on, is how bored out of your brains everyone is.
Well, that's always what they're counting on, I think. For 90% of crap films, it's like, well, hopefully they're bored enough to watch it. I think the concept...
So they're in cahoots.
The thing that's going to let them down is, as I said, like if something like Endgame, or like if those big films got put on hold, then the minute those cinemas open up, there's going to be a bunch of people running out to see it. But I don't feel like there's any film that people are like super disappointed about being paused. Like there's nothing that everyone was counting down the minutes for.
Yeah, right. Broadman, what are your thoughts?
Brody's just woken up from a nap.
Yeah, Brody's slept through the whole recording of the podcast. I'm with Brody Ledoux, Broadman Richards. First time on the podcast. How you been, man?
Yeah, been pretty good.
Good.
How you been going?
Yeah, good.
What do you think about all this Corona nonsense?
It's...
Peek behind the curtain. Angus messaged us all yesterday at about 2:30 to ask if we could do this call yesterday at 3 p.m. And Brody wrote, "Not today, I just woke up." So there's a peek behind this pandemic.
Also, after that, I went back to sleep and slept for a couple hours. So,
Amazing.
See what this self-isolation is doing to us. We're all going crazy. All right, I think we'll end that there. This was just meant to be a bit of a PSA, just to let the audience know that we're
alive.
Coming back. Yeah, we're alive. We're all in good health so far, we're looking for ideas for next episodes. So maybe we could review something. I know Tiger King is generating a lot of talk on the internet, so maybe we could review that doco series, other stuff like that. Let us know on. You can reach us on Instagram at Film Slice Pod. You can reach us on Facebook on the Film Slice Podcast Facebook page. All that kind of stuff. Shoot Jordan a DM. He loves that.
Yeah. I'm just do it. I'm lonely. I love a DM.
Don't talk to Brode. He comes off a bit rash on online. I don't think it's.
I thought you were going to say he comes off racist. Don't talk to Brody. He's a tad racist.
Jordan, you know who out of the three of us that would be.
Yeah. Thanks.
You got me. All right, we'll leave that there. Thanks, boys, for the call, and we'll see you next week where we're reviewing something.
We think.
Maybe. Also, I'd like to, just before we end it, I'd like to give us a shout out to everyone that has been messaging me saying, hey, when's the podcast coming? What are you guys doing? It's awesome to hear that you guys are actually listening and kind of waiting for the next episode. That's awesome. Thanks for listening.
And I'd like to shout out all the people not messaging me.
Again,
if you guys could, that'd be great.
He's very lonely. He's very lonely. Aren't we all? Sweet. Also, I'm going to give a super quick shout out, obviously, because, people are on lockdown. They're not doing a lot of other stuff. I've got 2 other podcasts that my mates do. So we've got 20th Century Boy, which is Radio Mike's podcast. If you haven't listened to that, definitely listen to that.
It's a much more successful podcast.
It's so much more successful and it's so funny. And definitely, if you like his podcast, definitely follow him on Instagram and YouTube because it's been getting me through the days. Is a very funny boy. I've also got Andrew Isles, who has been on the podcast for a short segment before. Andrew and his girlfriend Holly have just started a new podcast called I Love You Bye. And that's on YouTube and iTunes and Spotify and stuff as well. So definitely suss that out. That's their first episode I think they've released. So yeah, have a listen, give them some feedback, and subscribe to them as well. Boys, do you have any shout outs you want to do? What have you been watching? Anything you want to recommend, or you just want to leave?
I've returned to watching both Firefly, which is one of Joss Whedon's, along with a lot of other writers, an old... sci-fi western. That's real good.
Classic.
And also like a 2005 TV series called White Collar. I've resorted to watching that, but you know what? It's fine.
Resort. Oh, tough times indeed. Broadman, anything to plug?
Amazon Prime is the cheapest streaming service in Australia.
Ooh.
It's only like $7, I think. And
nice.
It's got a bunch of great shows, including all their original content, a lot of which is really good. And they have all 9 seasons of The US Office, which is a great watch. And I'm currently watching it for the 3rd time through, and it is still amazing.
Wowza, 3rd time through, 9 seasons. Good effort.
Not within like the last month.
Yeah.
Within the last 3 days.
Just in general.
In general. Thanks, boys. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, guys. Definitely hit us up on all those socials and whatnot. Cheers. We'll see you in the next episode. Stay safe.